Hi, good evening everyone once again. I think it was very good to see the interaction earlier, and to see people all charged up and willing to take action against crooked politicians and corruption. I think at first we need to understand what we are fighting for, what are our goals. As I see it, the ultimate goal is a prosperous India in which every citizen has the means to be free from poverty. Good governance is the most important element. And for that, for India's prosperity, for good governance, we need good people in politics, as was pointed out earlier. And to get good people in politics, it is our responsibility because finally we vote for them. There are at least two paths to get to this goal. One is something which we have been seeing in the last few months, which is the path demonstrated by Anna Hazare and his team: punish the corrupt people and replace them. Unfortunately, in India, the supply of corrupt people is unlimited, and other corrupt people will basically replace them. So the Jan Lokpal bill, according to me, will not solve this problem because the system which gives us the corrupt people is still in place. So are there other options? Let me propose one. The real problem in India is basically a lack of demand for good governance. And I think some of these points came up earlier. Ultimately, politics and politicians mirror our own society. We get what we demand. In India, there hasn't really been a demand for good governance and for good people in politics so far. And we also need to realize that this change is only going to happen through the ballot box. As we have seen through the agitation recently, there are absolute limits to what civil society can do and tell our legislators. This is where we in Middle India have to act. Earlier, we were limited by our numbers and our ability to connect with each other. That has changed. Today, we have the means to connect, through Facebook, Twitter, etc., and the numbers are large. In at least a third of the constituencies in India, 175 urban, semi-urban constituencies, the votes of Middle India can basically make a huge difference to the outcome of the elections. One way to achieve this is for urban voters to unite. People talked about the challenge earlier. So one of my recommendations: urban voters need to unite as vote banks. Basically say that we are all going to vote as one for the same candidate. That increases the power of the vote. It's not just a single vote, what difference will my vote make? And this idea actually has been explained in the book which we have kept outside. It's available for sale, Atano De's Transforming India. It talks about the concept of United Voters of India. There are, of course, other ways which we can do that. The key point here is that for the first time, we have people in Middle India who are willing to come together and act to change the course of our country. The movement to punish the corrupt is a worthy one. But we have to realize that it doesn't end there. We have to move beyond that and root out corruption by understanding why public corruption exists. The major cause of corruption is basically bad governance. And therefore, the solution to that is good governance. And we have seen that in some of the states in India. We have to demand good governance, and only then are we going to get it. Our demand will bring about the real change that we need in this country, that will not only end corruption, but also make India prosperous. And that is exactly what we want to do in Friends of BJP: engagement and education with people in Middle India, urban youth across the country, so that we can make a difference. We started Friends of BJP during the 2009 elections, a group of us, professionals, all working in different places, lawyers, entrepreneurs, engineers, and so on. And that's what we want to do. We want to get more of you involved, engaged, and see how we can together make a difference and make India prosperous and free of corruption. Thank you.
Good evening, friends. Now, to introduce you to the topic. Very often we hear the word, "Please don't politicize the issue." A very common refrain to any inconvenient question raised by the protagonist in the political sphere, as also by the media. This per se instills a sense of revulsion and disgust towards the politics and politicians. With the other oft repeated Aam Aadmi, we have been witness to an event the like of which has not been on display previously, Yes, protest against corruption. The latest addition to our vocabulary is the word apolitical. There have been many other words also bandied about, like the unelectable and the unelected, which have not found as wide acceptance or usage by the public in the regular discourse. We really need to understand this word, apolitical. Is it a word, a term, an ideology, an ism, a statement or an expression? Is this an accessory or a brand? What is the meaning? Does it define meaning as do other words? If it is a word, what are the implications if we do accept this in any of the above form? How does this measure up when we compare this word with amoral and atheist? Is apolitical the opposite of political and politics, or is it devoid of politics? Do we need it? If yes, why? Does this pit one against the other? Is this an oversimplification or an overkill, given the current state of affairs in India? Would this involve Indians increasingly in the political process, or will it make Indians more cynical about our political process, and hence our democracy? There is an urgent need to deconstruct and place this in the true perspective, lest we cause any long-term damage to our democracy. Recently, I had read in the newspapers, much more hard work is required, more effort than participating in candle vigils or wearing Gandhi caps. Politicians thumping desks and civil society thumping chests don't make a revolution. Waiting for a hero is not the way. When Andrea lamented to Galileo in a Brecht's play that there were no heroes, Galileo said, "Pity the nation in need of a hero, and pity too the nation that can't tell apart a real hero from a false one." With this, I hand over the topic to the panel. Thank you.